I'm Kate, and today we're going to be working on Mama Can Do's fit pants, the women's version, although this would work on the girls as well. We are going to take what's already a fabulous pants pattern and turn it into a skirt pattern, so I'm going to show you how to draft that. So first thing you're going to do is take your paper, whatever you have. Wrapping paper works well. This is medical paper like you have at the doctor's office on the exam table. It's really cheap and you get a lot of it. And yeah, so you're going to just draw a line perpendicular to your straight edge, and that is going to be your hemline. And then you will take your fit pattern piece for your pants, which you've already cut out and made fabulous pants because you know they fit and you know they're wonderful. And you're going to take the whatever length you choose. The pattern comes with a shorty, a mid-thigh, a knee length, a cropped length, and a full length. For a pencil skirt, like what I'm making today, I'm going to go with knee length. You're going to take that knee length line and lay it right on the perpendicular line that you just drew. Because you want your hem to be perpendicular to the floor. It tends to work better that way. And then, because you're working on, right now this is the front pattern piece that I'm on, you're not going to need a seam going down the middle because you don't need pant legs. So you'll just slide it over until your pattern piece is 1/4 of an inch on the edge, or off the edge right here. So that's your seam allowance, and that will be removed. You don't need that anymore. And your knee length line is right down here at the edge, or on the perpendicular line you already drew. And once you've got that, it's already lined up. So then just trace it. When you're tracing, stop at the widest part of the hips. You can make a pencil skirt really dig in towards your thigh or towards your knees, especially if you like a really skinny fit. That's not the fit that I prefer. I like a little bit more movement. I've got 2 kids. I've got to be able to run. So I stop right at the widest part of the hips, and I am going to use that to draw a line straight down to the knee. So I'll take my pattern piece and set it aside. Grab my straight edge again and just connect the dots. I'm going to keep this perpendicular, keep the ruler perpendicular to my knee length and connect it right up to that hip point. And that right there is the front piece. So for your sanity's sake later on, make sure you label it, front cut 1 and mark your fold line right here on the straight line. And when you cut out your pattern piece, it will look like this. So here's the front of my skirt. Very nice, right? And now, let's do the back. So the back, we're going to do just a little bit different. With one modification. You can do the back the exact same way, but, well, that would make for a boring video. So if you're doing the back the same way, you just draw your knee length line up your pattern piece, slide it over so it's 1/4 of an inch off the edge, trace it, cut 1, stitch it up, you're done. But we're going for broke. We're going to make this an awesome pattern hack for you. So again, draw your line perpendicular, and that's going to be your knee length line. And then draw another line perpendicular to that. This is if you plan to make a placket, a back placket or a pleat. A kick pleat is another word for it. Just makes it a little bit more roomy. It gives you a little bit more freedom of movement. My husband has a truck and I've got to be able to get my leg up into the truck. So anybody who's worn a pencil skirt in that situation knows why I'm adding a placket here. So draw another perpendicular line, and that is now my center back. So doing this, I'm actually going to cut 2 back pieces, not 1. So I am actually going to keep my seam allowance there. So in this case, I am going to again, oh, that's my front piece again. Woo-hoo. Guys, it's nap time. This mama's brain is scattered. Okay, so here's the back piece. So same thing, I'm going to take my knee line that right up with the hemline that I already marked on the paper, slide it on over, keeping it right in line. right up until my top center point hits that line I just drew, the vertical line. And that is now located correctly for my skirt piece. So again, do the same exact thing. Trace it around, and once again, I'm gonna stop at the widest part of my hip and go straight down. Just again, guys, I like to have a little bit of movement involved there. All right, so this is my center back over on this side. This was my hip side. You saw me draw the line down. So on the center back, down near the hem, we're going to add another line. So this one is, you're gonna want it 1.5 inches wide, and I'm gonna go with, I'll go with 6 inches. And then at the top of the 6 inches, take a vertical or a 45-degree angle. And connect it back to your skirt. So and that will be your placket. So right down there is your placket, and after you cut it out, it will look like this. I have 2 of them here, obviously. So there is one portion, and it is mirrored here on the other side. Here's my other portion. So 2 plackets. So stay tuned if you like, and I will show you how to do the placket. Or if you didn't do the placket and you want to stitch it up, go for it. You're about 15 minutes from being done. Sew down your side seams, add your waistband if you did a yoga waistband, or attach your elastic if you did the elastic waistband, and hem it, and you're done. But if you want to do the placket, stick with me and we'll do that next. All right, it's placket time. So lay out your 2 pieces. This is the back of your skirt. You've got the 2 pieces wrong side up. Another thing I do is I mark and pin which side is the underlap, which side is the overlap. So facing you, wrong side up, your left side is the underlap, the right side is the overlap. I pin them so I can't possibly get it wrong later. And then you're going to put some lightweight fusible interfacing right in your placket area. All right, so the first thing you're going to do is press each of your facings, each of your underlap and overlap, the placket in 1/4 inch, which I've already done, but you know, they could use another pressing. And then the overlap, you're going to press again right along your seam line. So your seam line, your center back seam line, is going to be 1/4 inch in from your center edge all the way straight down to your hem. All right, so that's that. Center line straight down into the hem. We'll come back to the overlap later. On the underlap now, keep that 1/4 inch there and mark your hem line. I've marked mine at a 1 inch, and fold it towards the right side and press just that one little section of your hem. You don't want to press it all because that'll make hemming later a little bit more difficult. Just a little section right there. Give that a little press. I know it's a lot of pressing, but please guys, press. I am the laziest sewer alive. I hate pressing, but sometimes you gotta do it. All right, so working with the underlap here, you've got your hem towards the right side. Go over to your machine and stitch up just the hem section where you've got that folded over, your 1/4 inch just right there, just from your hem right to the end or the edge of your hem. Stop right there, and then we'll go on from there, all right? I would let you see me sew, but my sewing room is also my playroom, and it's a disaster, so be right back. All right, we've got that stitched up. Just trim my threads here. So you can see we've got the little line of black stitching right along the edge there. Turn it right side out, and that's the beginning of our overlap, all right? So now just make sure that gets pressed, you know, that tip gets pressed nicely. You might want to just clip the corner a little bit, just because you want a nice, tight little crisp edge, crisp corner. All right, there we go. That's nice and pretty and crisp. Now just press that right there. and I'm repressing my 1/4 inch. Perfect. All right, so staying on the underlap, one more step here and this will be done. On the underlap, we're now going to stitch just a little zigzag stitch, getting that 1/4 inch pressed over, just stitching that right down. That's just finishing your edge. You could serge it, but I wouldn't recommend it because when the kick pleat, plops open when you're walking or when you're getting in my husband's big truck, like I am, you don't want serged edges seen. So I'm going to do a quick zigzag right there. Be right back. Okay. Nice little zigzag right here. Underlap is good to go. We will come back to that later. Working on the overlap now. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to stitch our zigzag stitch right along that 1/4 inch hem. And then after we do that, we're going to fold along that pressed center line. And this time we're sewing the hem going this way. All right, so we're going to sew the hem parallel to the hem just over the placket, right? So step 1, zigzag your 1/4 inch, then turn it to the right side. You'll notice my little overlap wrong sides over there. Turn it towards the right side along your center back line and stitch just the hem just over the placket, all right? Be right back. Overlap, so we have our 1/4 inch zigzag right along there and our hem stitched there. Then you just want to trim this extra. Again, just like on the other side, we don't want extra fabric making our seams bulky. So just trim just a little bit. Make sure you only trim this extra here. You don't want to trim your main fabric or the outside of it. You'll have a hole in your skirt. So now we have a little extra bit of fabric on. Now we can turn it right side out. Nice crisp little corner there, and we'll press that. All right, and so that's your overlap, good to go. Now we're going to stitch up the right sides together. So put your overlap and your underlap right sides together. You're going to stitch up this little diagonal section from the edge here to your center back line, which you marked over here, and then stitch all the way up the center back of your skirt. Be back in a minute. Alrighty, so we've got that stitched all the way up the back. Now this is the most important pressing you will do, but before you start pressing, you're going to clip on the understitch side, right at that diagonal, right at that peak. You're going to clip your seam just the understitch side or the underlap side, and stitch it very close to the seam, but don't trim your stitches. All right, once that's trimmed, you're going to open up that seam and press it open. Now, last step, right on your seam line where you stitched it diagonal, you're going to hold it so that the underlap is right on top of the overlap, again wrong sides facing you, and stitch your seam just along that diagonal. This is going to be visible to the outside, so make sure it's straight and make sure it matches whatever you need it to match. Alright? Alrighty. Clipping my seams, or clipping my threads. They're called threads. So now I will remove my reminders, and there it is. Perfect little kick pleat. I think I'll be able to successfully get in and out of my husband's vehicle. Alright, so then you just attach it to the rest of your skirt as you normally would. You sew your skirts right sides together along the side seams, attach your waistband. I'm doing a yoga waistband, or complete your waistband with the elastic like the pattern calls for, and hem it, and you will have a fantastic little skirt. Alright, have a good one, y'all.